It is the Knights Report presented by UMC, live from Studio 31 inside City National Arena. Daren, Millard along with Mike McKenna, looking ahead to Game 3 of the Stanley Cup semifinals in fabled Montreal at the Bell Center tonight. Just shy of 4,000 people will be in attendance. With the series tied up at 1, Vegas can take a 2-1 series lead. We know how important these statistically situations are when a team is tied in a series after 2 games, after 4 games, and the numbers do point out that this is a significant game in a best-of-7 series.
You're looking for any type of swing you can possibly find, and going ahead 2-1 in a series will certainly give you that, especially when you've got a 2-game set in an opponent's building for the Golden Knights. If you get that first win on the road, that's a big step towards taking a series. They know that they have to be good right from the start tonight, carry it through the game. And anytime you have that chance to go up, get that little bit of swagger, you're helping your cause going in a 7-game series.
So how are you doing at home watching this wherever you are, whether it be on the couch driving around streaming the pregame report, the Knights Report, looking ahead to Game 3? You nervous? You confident? We've got some lineup changes coming your way, some storylines to cover. Chandler Stevenson and his situation and availability. If he doesn't play, who steps into that spot? Dominic Ducharme, head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, will not be behind the bench tonight after a positive test for COVID. How does that impact the Montreal Canadiens moving forward? And Max Pacioretty in Montreal playing against the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup semifinals. So just adding on to that thread. But it is Game 3, and when you look at what you witnessed out of the first 2, coming off of the Montreal victory in game number 2 at T-Mobile Arena, what did you see that kind of changed it in Montreal's favor?
Felt like Montreal, especially at the start, was strong. They were in Game 1 as well. But you look at how they were able to generate early. They finally got on the board, and that's been their hallmark all throughout playoffs so far, is that when they score the first goal of the game, when they lead after the first period, they have a completely different swagger to the way that they play. The Canadiens were able to control that. Now, the Golden Knights pushed back. The second and third period were really strong. They just couldn't get their opportunities, but there's a confidence factor to the Canadiens with Carey Price in net, with the way that they're playing defense, and also getting the boost in Game 2 of having Jeff Petrie back on defense, John Merrill available. They were able to exit their zone a little better. They did a better job keeping shots to the outside than they did in Game 1. The Golden Knights were able to generate, though, when they got the chances from the point, quick strike opportunities. Petrangelo picks up 2. But it just wasn't enough at the end. But Daren, it sure felt like those last 3 minutes when the Golden Knights were coming on strong, there was a good chance to tie that game. They just didn't break through and get that opportunity.
Yeah, the better team again for 2/3 of the game. The first third was the big challenge for the Vegas Golden Knights. And when Montreal, this might be the outlier from the playoffs so far, because the first goal didn't mean a hill of beans against the Minnesota Wild, and and against the Colorado Avalanche, there was ebbs and flows during the series. Montreal has won 8 of its last 9. In those 8 wins, they've been the team that's opened the scoring.
Yep, and it just, you think about different ways that teams do things, and you put the importance on it, and as a series goes along, things are going to happen. It's going to change, and you can always rewrite a script. But you do learn from that, and it puts an importance on what the Golden Knights need to do early in the game and how they need to take it to the opposing club. They just weren't sharp last game. It looked like the Golden Knights were out of sync in the first period. They didn't generate much speed through the neutral zone, a lot of lateral passes to players that weren't in motion. You know, it just felt like a game that the Golden Knights were on their heels to begin with. And the Canadiens, again, once they grab that confidence and get rolling, they have the skill to lock it down. They have a lot of experience, too. Remember all the Stanley Cup winners that they have. You've got Corey Perry on that club. You pick up Edmondson. You have people that have done it before. Of course, the Golden Knights have that as well. But Montreal relies on this guy, Carey Price.
But he hasn't been the difference through 2 games at all.
Well, you want to shoot him down, but there's a boogeyman factor to what he does. And if we want to take a look at what the Golden Knights did late in the game when they're missing the net and they're trying to be too perfect in what they do, sometimes you just got to get it there. And yes, Price has been good, but he gives that team confidence that they know as long as they pack the middle, he's not going to allow those outside shots. You know, this play early in the second period from Pacioretty off the post. How does that change the game if that goes in? You know, you do look for those little moments. Maybe it's different. But Price has been good, but the defense, look at where these shots are coming from, largely outside. Even this one, just over the top of net, a good opportunity. One of those situations, one of those plays that could have changed the entire outlook of the game had the Golden Knights gotten a goal or 2 in that second period of Game 2.
You look at the highlights from Game 2, and you might be surprised that it was Montreal that had the 3-0 lead, because a lot of the good quality chances like that came from the Golden Knights. The opportunistic ability of Montreal is there, though. Like, they are a great counterpunch team.
They are, and again, they rely on that experience, but they've got all those young players that are also filtering in. They're a very young club, which is surprising to see the maturity they have beyond their years for a lot of those players. And you rely on your Shea Webbers and Perrys and Stalls in the lineup to give you that boost. But when you're trying to counterpunch, you want to get that lead early. Felt like the Canadiens had more juice, they had more hits, they were more physical Game 2. They were able to counter that for the Golden Knights. You just wonder, is that depth of the Canadiens able to keep up with what the Golden Knights have done so far? You're looking for more of that from the VGK.
Yeah, they've been great. Full marks for what they've done in the Stanley Cup playoffs, coming back from 3-1 down against the Toronto Maple Leafs, then running the table against the Winnipeg Jets, and now 1-1 against the Vegas Golden Knights. But keep in mind, this is a team that had one more win than the Ottawa Senators during the regular season. Made the playoffs because of the third column, but they've got some. This is a different team with a different confidence than what we were able to watch during a 56-game regular season.
They are, but you can also take pockets of that regular season. Early in the year, it looked like the Canadiens were the real deal. Up until almost, the first 2 months or so, you're thinking, wow, this is a club that could really contend. They lost their way in the middle of the season. They did have some injuries. Price was out for a bit, but they had other players and a coaching change. I mean, Claude Julien gets fired. They bring in a new coach who was the assistant previously. But you look and try to create another identity when there is a coaching change. And there's always going to be tweaks to systems. And they got better as the year went along. They made smart moves throughout the season to pick up pieces, bringing in Stahl, and also bringing in a defenseman in Gustafsson that can give some power play points. Mark Bergevin did his homework to try to create a club that was built for playoffs. He did it last season. They were the big surprise in the bubble last year. Remember? I think they finished 24th in the league overall, yet came in and surprised people right off the bat. And whenever you have, again, that factor of someone that everybody believes in the net and Price, it filters throughout the team. I feel like Montreal at this point has hit the stride and the level that they thought they were capable of. Early in the season especially. It's kind of been a bookend season for them. Lost their way, they found it, and once you find that confidence and you start bringing it in playoffs, sky's the limit.
Send us your questions, your comments. Love to interact with you on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Question coming in. What line needs to step up for the Golden Knights to come out on top? And we're just waiting for the official roster to be handed in, so a bit of speculation here.
Yeah, we're not sure what it's going to look like. There's a lot of day-to-day players. This morning, Alex Tuch skated between Stone and Pacioretty. Maybe he plays center tonight. If that's the case, you're going to have speed through the middle. And Tuch's played center previously this season, briefly. One game, and he said to the world, I haven't done it since what? Was it Bantams maybe, I think? But, the way the VGK plays, they do have interchangeable pieces at forward. Aside from taking the faceoffs, the first man back in the zone, whether a centerman, whether a winger, they play the F1 position on the forecheck, in the D zone. So Tuch has done that, and his skating ability is what you're trying to replicate if Stevenson isn't able to go. You're trying to find that speed. Last game, I think Tuch might have been the best player on the ice for the forwards from the Golden Knights. The opportunities that he created on the wing, on the rush, wasn't able to cash in. This save early from Price, I think, kind of led the way to Tuch maybe looking for a little bit too much. Missed the net a couple times coming down the wing when he had looks at the net. But if you continue to drive the net, if you continue to get those opportunities, the way Alex Tuch shoots the puck, that's going to go in eventually. So I think that first line, whoever ends up centering Stone and Pacioretty, they need more. They need it on the power play too. We haven't seen that come yet. That's where you're really looking for things. I think that depth-wise, though, the Golden Knights have been strong, and especially from the defense. The defensive scoring has been fantastic.
Lineup coming in right now. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll tell you what the skating formations will look like up front and on the blue line for Game 3 of this series against the Montreal Canadiens. Stay with us. It's the Knights Report, live from Studio 31 at City National Arena.
Universal Solar Direct. Pay less for your electric.
Look at all these bills. We've got to find a way to save money somewhere.
Universal Solar.
Let's go solar.
Pay less for your electric.
Call Universal Solar Direct now to go on a power play with our exclusive offer. 0 down, 0 payments for 5 months, and 0 interest for 9 years. Invest today, save. for a lifetime.
Universal Solar Direct.
Proud sponsor of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Call 702-483-6900.
You gotta put your heart and soul into it. Give it 110%. This is what you've been working for. You gotta play like there's no tomorrow because...
Yeah, Dad. I got it.
Because this is where champions are made.
Vegas Golden Knight Alex Tuch is a hero on the ice, and off the ice, he's doing something even more important. He's a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. In the United States, more than 100,000 people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. That's more than 5 times the capacity of the Fortress.
We all have the power to end the wait.
My son Mikey saved 8 lives and healed many more.
Learn more about Nevada Donor Network and register to be a hero at nvdonor.org.
Knights report from City National Arena inside Studio 31 as we continue to tee up Game 3 of the Stanley Cup semifinals, and the roster has been submitted ahead of this one for the Vegas Golden Knights, and up front it will be Alex Tuch centering Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, so no Chandler Stevenson for the second straight game. The misfit line remains the same. The third line will feature Matthias Janmark and Nick Waugh and Keegan Colasar, and on the fourth line, William Carrier, Ryan Reeves, and the return of Tomas Nosek. That is your forward units. And on the blue line, status quo there. Nick Holden and Zach Whitecloud, the third pairing, along with the big four.
Big thing I take away from this is Tomas Nosek coming back into the lineup. Now, mind you, he's been out of the lineup for a while, but he has been skating. He's been working back in. You have to find your legs, but when it's in playoffs, you find your legs very quickly. Tomas Nosek has been one of the most undervalued players on the entire club, I think. He just goes about his business. He does what he needs to. He elevated himself this year. He went from fourth line minutes with Carrier and Reeves with the meat grinders to playing third line and taking advantage of it. The amount of points that he was putting up in the second half of the season made him a reliable offensive piece for the Golden Knights. And tonight you look at this, what it does to the lineup. If Tuch's centering at the top line, you'd expect it to stay the same. But having Nosek back gives some options here for head coach Pete DeBoer. He can move pieces around if necessary. Tuch could go to the wing if he needs to. You could also put Colasar center. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle here, but Nosek solidifies things. You got Waugh back on the third line with that familiarity with Janmark, where Tuch had played previously, and Colasar when Pacioretty was out and Tuch was up on the top line. Colasar played third line minutes and had success alongside Waugh and Janmark. So this is a lot more familiarity for the Vegas Golden Knights. You're getting back to being close to fully healthy for the team, and that's exactly what they need at this time of the year.
Nosek actually played center between Pacioretty and Stone when Chandler Stevenson was dealt his suspension, and he was just coming off of COVID, I believe, or the injury, can't remember which. But they played him for a little bit, and he just seemed to run out of gas, and they probably learned from that, knowing that this would be a tougher spot to put him in. So he plays on the fourth line. On the blue line is status quo, but Tuch will go in place of Chandler Stevenson, second time that he's played center.
Yep.
And remember when he did play that center ice position, and Stormy asked him last time he played, 16 years old, and it was Pete DeBoer after the game said, better to try it now. We wanted to give him a look there to see what it was like instead of in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Well, here we are. So they got their look, and they got an opportunity to see him and like what they saw. I'd like to thank T-Mobile, the official 5G wireless service of the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is the T-Mobile provider of 5G service for the Vegas Golden Knights, the official supplier, as we forecast great things for game number 3 in that environment in Montreal, with the Vegas Golden Knights aiming for that 2-1 series lead, and a real pickle for the Montreal Canadiens. Will not have head coach Dominic Ducharme available after a positive COVID test. He was vaccinated, had just received his second shot, but not considered to be fully inoculated, and he comes down with a positive test, probably going to be out 10 days, although that's still to be determined exactly how long he will be out. But for this series anyway, it looks like the Montreal Canadiens won't have their head coach available from game 3 on.
I wonder if they're almost going to call Kelly McCrimmon and ask what it's like to coach a game when he had to step behind the bench previously this year. Of course, playoffs, that's not going to happen. You're not going to ask the opponent. But it's another bump in the road for the Montreal Canadiens. And in this season, as much of teams have had to adapt, it does make things more difficult. You're used to having that one singular voice behind the bench. Of course, they did have Claude Julien earlier this year. They made that change. But this is troublesome. This is something that they'll have to overcome. Of course, teams nowadays have such a coaching staff, a depth of coaching staff, that they always have somebody that can step in.
Montreal doesn't.
But, usually you've got somebody, that's what I was getting at, that you've got someone with head coach experience that's done this previously, maybe that's been shuffled down the mix, and Montreal does not, like you say.
Luke Richardson coached Ottawa's American Hockey League
He was in Binghamton, correct.
For 4 years. Alex Burrows is just cutting his teeth in the coaching ranks. He was promoted from Laval when they made the coaching change mid-season.
Yep.
I wonder if Joel Bouchard comes up, head coach of their American League team, but they were already short-staffed because of the coaching change, and then this happens.
I wonder, because Luke Richardson has that experience of at least being ahead in Binghamton in the American Hockey League and having some success there as well, very highly regarded, you'd think he'd be the bench boss. Like you say, the Rocket de Laval may have, Bouchard could come up and do that too. But you really don't have the same type of staff that you look at up and down the line. Like, take a look at, say, somebody else in the league that's got a depth position. You've got different coaches that have been heads before. Same way, even the Golden Knights, though, right? It's, Ryan McGill's been head coach in the American Hockey League and others, but it factors into your bench because you're hearing a different voice. You have to look for the line changes tonight. Will they be smooth? Will they get caught with too many men on the ice? These are real things that happen. It's hard because you're used to hearing that same voice in your ear, and even if it's not the head coach, if it's the forward coach, the D coach, they're the ones who are generally calling out the lines. It's a wrinkle. It's tough. It doesn't make things easier for them.
Well, what will make it even harder on Montreal will be a solid first period from the Vegas Golden Knights, and that hasn't happened in the opening two games in which the two clubs split the games at T-Mobile Arena. Here's Alec Martinez just on how to approach the opening 20 minutes of Game 3.
I think there's been an emphasis on it. Obviously, they've done a really good job this series, not just this series against us, but I guess the playoffs, getting out with a lead and a good start. I think on our side of things, we got to try to establish our game early, keep things simple. I think that we've had a bit of a lack of execution at the start of games. I think we can tighten that up, but you got to give them credit. They've done a good job, and we got to figure out a way to match it.
And that'll be the real indicator, at least in the early going, of the Vegas Golden Knights having adjusted their approach.
You got to be fast. They have to play fast. They have to be aggressive and be in Montreal's face right away. They can't turn pucks over. They have to be as direct as possible. I'm curious to see who head coach Pete DeBoer starts tonight. Does he go to the Misfits? Does he go back to the fourth line that we've seen previously?
So good in Game 2.
And that's what I'm really looking at to see is how are you going to find that jump right off the bat? Because we all know for the Golden Knights, their greatest strength is being able to roll four lines, attack in waves. But they've got to do the best that they can to manage the puck. They've got to keep it on their stick. They can't give it away. Now, Montreal pushed last game. They had plenty of energy off the start. They were hard on pucks. But you've got to mentally get ready. And that's what Alec Martinez is really getting at, that from the moment that puck drops, they have to be engaged. They have to find everything they can in the locker room beforehand to make sure when the puck drops, mentally they're on their game. Not just physically. Legs got to go, but you got to get your brain going too.
Question from Facebook. Don tuning in to the live stream and the Knights Report presented by UMC. Why do you think the Golden Knights have so many inconsistencies in their starts? One time they come out fast, next time a little slow.
It's hockey. I think that's the bottom line, is that you can't be perfect every game. What's ironic about it, though, is that the Golden Knights were so good in the regular season, and now they've hit the bump in the road where they have had trouble starting games. The players haven't been able to really pinpoint it in their press conferences. They've just said, we haven't been good enough. Doesn't seem to be one specific thing that's causing this. But you look at the record in the regular season for the Golden Knights when they're leading after 22-4. They started very well this year, a lot of occasions. So I don't think that the team's been inconsistent throughout the course of the season. I just think in playoffs they haven't been able to find it as much as they need. But part of that factor is that they're playing the best teams in hockey at this point. There's 4 teams left. Last round there were 8. When you're not playing against the Anaheims and the LAs of the world, it's harder to get out to a lead. You have to battle for it. You have to learn to get through adversity early in a game, get your lead and get going. And it's not always easy to do that, especially in playoffs when the stakes are high and players are willing to do things that they wouldn't normally do in the regular season.
Boy, a great indicator is Alex Petrangelo finding the offensive part of his game.
He's been phenomenal for the Golden Knights, and his game just continues to ramp up. He had those 2 periods during the regular season where, because of COVID, he's out. He has to recover from that. Then he's injured. He has to recover from that. Every time previous to that, he was on the cusp of doing big things offensively for the Golden Knights. Now in playoffs, you're finding that. The offensive game is there. He's had 2 goals last game, quick strike opportunities, but I think for him playing with Alec Martinez has been such a boon to his own game because Petrangelo is somebody who likes to be able to roam all over the ice. And you've got people that read off each other well enough, like a Martinez, that if Petrangelo wants to go down behind the goal line in the offensive zone with the puck, he knows Martinez is back. He knows that he can be able to cover for him. They're feeding off each other really well. That's when you see Petrangelo at his best, when there's no sense of fear to his game where he is on the ice, the full confidence to get the puck. And you look at his goals last game. These weren't big rocket slap shot, one-timer power play goals on the one. These were just simply getting the puck to the net, finding lanes. He got good help from teammates. Mark Stone in front of the net for the screenshot. You need more of this, but you need it throughout the lineup. It's great that the D's scoring, but we got to get it from the forwards too.
Stone's net front in this series has been really effective. And question via Twitch, how do the Knights solve Carey Price? They've done a nice job in this series. Petrangelo with the pair through traffic in Game 2 and putting up 4 in Game 1. That hasn't been the difference in the series so far.
No, goaltending hasn't. I do think that there's a real factor to Carey Price. Just the aura of him is real. But anytime you have a goaltender that you know is playing at the top of his game that's very strong, there's little things you can do to get through. You create those screen opportunities like Mark Stone did. You find ways to get pucks through. You also take advantage of how early in Game 1 especially, Price was really aggressive. He was in his white paint. He came down a little bit. This is a great play here from Stone to get to the front. Watch how he's directly in front of the net, and then he moves out of the way of that. Years ago, Dustin Brown and Drew Doughty popularized that with the LA Kings. Dustin Brown would tell Doughty, shoot the puck at me, I'll get out of the way of it. That's exactly what Mark Stone's doing here. It takes confidence and it takes trust, but it's a great play.
And survival instincts.
Yeah, 100%. Getting to the front of the net, and look at these plays right off the faceoff. The Golden Knights have excelled in that this series. Quick strikes, win the faceoff, get to the front of the net, get the shot there. This time, Alex Petrangelo uses Jeff Petrie as a screen. He fools Carey Price. He can't see that release. Whether it's the Golden Knights, whether it's the Montreal Canadiens in front of their own net, those screens give you a great opportunity. Yes, Price is good on first chances, but if he can't see the puck, he's going to have a difficult time with it, whether it's the first shot or on rebound opportunities.
10 goals in this series, 5 have come directly off of faceoffs. So that's a trend that we'll continue to keep track of. This is the first game of the Stanley Cup semifinals in Montreal. The first time that Vegas has played in the Eastern time zone since February 6th of 2020. So we're talking 16 and a half months. So that's a little bit different. The time, though, the start time is only 1 hour ahead. So maybe we read too much into that. But just a quick comment on Max Pacioretty, a former full-time captain of the Montreal Canadiens, facing Montreal in the Stanley Cup semifinal series.
There's going to be some butterflies. I'm sure there is. I've been in that scenario before where you go back to an old building or playing against an old team previously. And, yeah, you feel it beforehand, especially as a captain of a team in an original 6 city as an American in Montreal. That was a huge deal and served the team very well. There's got to be excitement, though, too. And there's
an opportunity for them, right?
Exactly.
Big stage.
It's as big as it gets, right? You got 2 monoliths in hockey right now. The winningest franchise in all of hockey history against the upstart, well, by percentage, the winningest hockey team in NHL history in the Golden Knights. And Pacioretty can really put a stamp on this series. When you go into an old building and you have a great performance, it's the best feeling in the world. I've had those before, and you just walk out of there on cloud 9. You want to have that. You're going to have the jump. And there's people in Montreal, they may not be vocal about it, but they're going to be secretly rooting for him to at least have a strong game, enjoy seeing him back in the building as well.
And it's extremely rare. The only other time that happened, or the last time it happened, Doug Harvey in 1968, the only other former full-time captain of the Montreal Canadiens, to face the Habs in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the Stanley Cup semifinal series, game number 3. Tampa Bay has a 2-1 series lead on the other side of the bracket against the New York Islanders, and Vegas will try to replicate that tonight by winning on the road. Just a prediction, anything that you may not have been able to touch.
Yeah, things that are like under the surface here. Well, you know what I'm really looking for is Marc-Andre Fleury in the first period. I want to see how he takes his game and kind of, in some ways, I felt like he was pressing just a little bit in game 2. I just want to see how his reaction is right off the start of it, because now you've got this head-to-head. You're in Montreal. You're playing in your home province. There's so much excitement to that. I'm curious of the goalie battle. I'm also curious, again, to see the power play for the Golden Knights. I think, to me, that's a key to them. It hasn't been strong. I want to see the changes and the personnel differences that they've done and see what could potentially be successful there.
Marc-Andre Fleury in the goaltending matchup, been there, done that. Been to multiple finals, multiple Stanley Cup winner, and Carey Price the other night in Game 2 established a personal record for most wins in a Stanley Cup playoff year with 9. So he's in new territory for the Montreal Canadiens in goal. Enjoy Game 3 tonight.
Same to you, Darren. It's going to be fun.
Looking forward to it. Game number 3 offers the winner a 2-1 series lead. You can watch Game 3 on NBCSN, and you can listen to it on the Vegas Golden Knights Radio Network with Dan Duva and Gary Lawless over on Fox Sports Las Vegas. What storylines will we be discussing? Alex Tuck will be one on that number 1 line. Enjoy the action, everybody.